Hey, welcome to Photo4me episode 18. Today we're talking about, are your photos being seen? And Make Mother's Day campaign is on. So let's get into it. So thank you so much for joining us. Last week we asked you about your lens, and today's question for us is, what's your favourite camera body and why? Comment on your answers below. Of course, if you're enjoying the weekly updates and the artist podcasts, drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and click the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest changes to your platform. So I'm going to introduce the team. I'm Mark, and I'm responsible for member success. We've got Dan, who takes care of social media, and we've got Mike, who runs the day-to-day operations.
Go.
So my first job this week is to tell you about the first-time sellers from the past 7 days. So we've got Peter Scott, John Williams, Justin Fawkes, Phil Longfoot, Chris Hyde, Ken Carnworth, Ed Whiting, Joe Walker, Anne Mitchell, and Jackie Farrell. It's a good steady list there. And the top sellers, top 5 sellers from the past 7 days are Jay Biggerdike, Andrew Ray, Dean Merry, Kevin Britland, and Brian Pierce. Dan, what's going on in social media world?
Lovely. So the editor's choices this week, we have Cy Betteridge with Valley Glow, Overhoist with Lock Arclit, John Frid with Glencoe Lochan, Tommy Dixon with Etive Moore, and Maria Galeman with Ben Nevis in Snow. And the top 5 searches of the past 7 days from the time of this recording, we have Lake District at number 1, Scottish Highlands at number 2, Whitby at number 3, Norfolk at number 4, and Norfolk Broads at number 5. So remember guys, if you do have any images with those search terms, get out there and create collections around those. Yesterday, our Make Mother's Day campaign launched. Our Make Mother's Day campaign is our next big marketing event to help you guys get more sales. Remember guys, if you are struggling to get your photography seen, you should really make the most of these additional sale opportunities. We really encourage you guys to get out there and share the code MUM2021 to your audience so that they are aware that they can get 15% off of your artwork. You could do this on your social media, on your website, or even if you share it to your friends and family. Be proactive and put yourself out there. Remember guys, as a platform, we take away all the stress of supplying, manufacturing, shipping to customers and customer service for you. And whilst we're driving loads of traffic to the website through our overall marketing campaign at this time, this is not the time to sit idle. You know, if you are passionate about selling your photography, which I hope all of you are, put yourself out there and use these events that we create as your own tools and strategies to generate sales for you. We know that marketing and selling your photography is difficult. And so by taking away the stress of that with an easy to use platform, you are better equipped to be proactive in generating sales for yourself and using these tools and opportunities to do that. So get out there, get sharing the promo code, and fingers crossed you guys will be able to generate more sales. And so speaking of a new tool, if you guys are worried about why your images are not being seen or selling, giving you guys the power to see what images do sell and why they sell is important. Real-time image views helps with this. But another exciting addition to the real-time image views will be the ability to see what customers have added to their cart in real time. This will be live by Friday. Again, this will give you guys the opportunity to gain a better understanding of what's selling and figure out what's missing from your portfolio. And remember, this could be the image style, the keywords, collections, the image subject itself, anything. And by being able to see what customers are adding to the cart will help give you a better picture of what they are interested in. When this tool goes live, like with all live tools that we're giving you, you may see some strange customer behavior. We know that often customers bulk add images they are interested in into their cart, and then they return across multiple days, refining their selection until they have made their decision. So if you see 8 images added to a cart, don't get too excited and wonder why not all 8 haven't sold at once. This could be a customer creating a wish list. Again, this shows that you are not fishing behind the boat with customer searches, and that buying decisions can take some time to make, some time to be made. So be proactive, guys. Ask yourself, would I pay good money for that to be hung on my wall? Find those images, upload those images, create collections, refine your keywords around what customers are searching for, and by the time that customer comes back, they'll be more likely to see your image. Also, as a teaser before I give it back to Mark, we will also be adding the ability to filter real-time image views so that you can only see your images. We're going to save that one for next week and tell you more about that in detail then. So Mark, what's going on with your section?
Well, thanks, Dan. A massive shout out to everyone who commented on their lenses from last week. We asked them what lens would they use for the rest of their life if they could only use one. And now come and letting us know about your favourite camera body. So do that in the section down below. So, happy Mother's Day. Well, it will be soon. We're working on to get you some sales over that. So if you click the link in the description to check out Make Mother's Day article, where we feature artists such as Derek Whitten, Leighton Collins, John Finney, David Neighbour, and more. So if you've been featured, do share the article on social media or with your friends and family. So one of the main talking points currently is using live data, improving your portfolio over time to improve discoverability. But what happens when you try to use the things and your pictures aren't selling? What could be one of the reasons? Well, why do customers buy your art? We know that people buy on an emotional level, and if you're constantly thinking along the lines that whilst looking at the data coming in, you might start to see what customers are really looking for and start sharing your art accordingly. The real questions are, would I buy it? So ask yourself, would I buy it? Or, is it the most colourful or vibrant it can be? Or if it's monochrome, does it have a strong contrast? One of the most important aspects of appealing to your customers is telling a story that people can relate to emotionally. That's often why sunrises and sunsets do so well, because there's like an emotional attachment to them. But you also have an opportunity in your descriptions and your keywords to tell those stories. This is especially true when it comes to your collections. So, use those to tell stories. And what we can do is take those stories and they will start to become part of our online magazine, which is another platform that we're creating so that we can get your images in front of people. Well, and we look at featured images, descriptions ourselves, even to write up the stories that we used in the magazine to sell to customers. And we really want you to get involved in telling these stories so that you can grow our collective audience, which in turn helps people find your art. So as ever, if you have an idea or a feature story that you think would be worth including in the magazine, please let us know by sending an email with magazine in the title to customercare@photo4me.com, or you can message us on Facebook. Mike, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Mark. And this week's top tip. So this week, I know it's frustrating when a concern is reported on your photograph by a member of the community. I see it. I speak to you all. I get emails all the time, but I want to just help clarify some things. So, we know that all you artists care about having a platform to market and sell your photograph or your photography easily. And that's why you joined the website. Let's be honest. So reporting the concern helps us achieve that. And here's why. When a concern is reported, nothing happens. It's just we get notified and you get notified. But commercially, the image is perfectly fine on the website. It is still for sale. The member who raises this concern, generally speaking, should want to help you and protect you from legal issues on your photography, issues with printing or manufacturing, and more to avoid this disappointment if your image were to sell and we had to refund or cancel the order because of issues that we could have resolved or prevented previously. So it's protecting you on a legal standpoint, but also protecting you if your image were to sell, and then avoiding that disappointment later on. So let's assume the image is fine and no action is taken after the concern has been raised. Well, then happy days. The image stays on the website. We just sort of say, yeah, thanks for the concern, but I think we're okay here. And then, the image is unaffected. So the concern is removed from the image, and we go check out the next image. I'll reiterate again, no action is taken until we actually review the image. So it might take a couple of days, but again, the picture is still on the website for commercial. If we feel that the image is of a concern and the member was valid in their assessment, then unfortunately the image will be removed from the commercial sale. But that's not to say it's case closed and we brush our hands and say, no, the image is not, we don't want to hear about it again. It's far from it. If you feel the concern was unjustified or you have an explanation for whatever reason, large or small, please email us at customercare@photo4me.com, and we'd be happy to discuss it with you. I'll admit, we're not perfect. I mean, there's over 600,000 pictures on the website. We see a lot of pictures. We review a lot of pictures. It's very quick. If we make a mistake, we're happy to work with you and discuss with you about this. And we want to find a happy medium or a compromise or some level of understanding as to why we did what we did and understand why you took the picture and wanted it up for commercial sale. We want to help you sell your photography. That's why we're here. And that's why you've joined us. So it's all about finding that perfect balance of just having what's on the website sellable, but also helping you in achieving that sale. You have to remember that you are responsible as the member and the copyright holder, that you inherit all the legal responsibilities of the picture. So we're trying to protect you in that sense, that if we see a potential legal issue, we don't want you to get into trouble because you are responsible for the content on the website. Again, we're happy to discuss it with you after the image, if the image has been removed, and get it back on the website if you think it was unjustified. So we're always happy to sit down, listen, and have a chat.
Okay, Mike, thanks for clearing up. I always know that's a contentious issue. But Dan, I think it's time for us to introduce this week's guest.
Lovely. Cheers, Mark. So this week we are joined by Paul F Prestidge. Paul has an extensive career in freelance commercial photography, including a wide range of newspaper and magazine publications. We're really excited to chat to him. So let's go ahead and get him in now.
How are you doing? Sorry, I lost the sound of horse.
Right.
Yeah, my son calls me a boomer. I presume you know what that means.
Oh, good old boomer.
One of the boomer generation. Yeah. That's it.
Oh, lovely, Paul. Yeah. So, Paul, thanks so much for joining us. For those who aren't familiar with your background in photography, I have your bio up in front of me, and it's pretty extensive. So I'm going to go ahead and let you take charge of this. Why don't you tell the viewers a bit about your background in your commercial photography career and what you're up to at this point of your photography career?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm a freelance. I've always been a freelance photographer. I've had a main job, of course. I was a sales manager. So it was a secondary job, although I ran it as a business in the end. But it started off in a small way. I just got some images accepted for postcards, and they were in turn spotted by photo libraries, Charlie Waite's Landscape Only. And that's really what started me on the sort of commercial side. And after that, I seemed to get lots of requests. I didn't actually tout for business at all, but I got to be known, and most of the work I did was done through word of mouth, really, and including Western Morning News. I did quite a bit for Western Morning News, the sort of West Country paper. They were running something called Western Morning View, and I had a lot of pictures published in that, so that got me on the way. And then I did a lot of work for the local tourism boards, which in turn led to advertising orders and so on. So I got into the commercial side that way. And then at times I sort of thought of a rest from it. So I went and played golf or something, or did other things, but always came back to photography. I really enjoy being out at large and sort of walking, cycling. I've always been an outdoor person, really. So that's how it all happened, really.
I guess photography is a lot less frustrating than the golf.
Yeah, you're right there. Yes, I took up golf when I was very young, and then sort of went back to it after about 30 years. And what I learned when I was young didn't sort of stick at all. I had to start all over again. There we are. But yeah.
I can see in your bio in 1982 you got your LRPS, and in 1984 you got your ARPS. At what point in your freelance career did that come about? Did you get these accolades before you start to pursue your?
I was pretty well before I actually sold any pictures. I think I was an ARPS when I actually first sold pictures to Images and Editions, and they were sort of arty sort of postcards which went all around the country, and that got me on started really. But prior to that, I'd been a member of a group of 7 photographers called Proteus, and I started in camera clubs, and then we actually ended up going around camera clubs giving audio visual presentations and so on. And we had some very good black and white photographers too, so there was a mixture of photographers in there. They were all highly qualified, much better than me. I mean, I had 2 FRPSs and so on. But it was good fun. We were asked to do various presentations not only at camera clubs, but at all sorts of clubs, yacht clubs and hospitals and so on. So it was good fun getting together a show for every year.
Sorry, I can see in your bio, you done a monochrome audio and visual presentation. What does that entail exactly?
Well, the audio visual was fantastic. We put music to slides, and I mean some of the older viewers will probably remember this. And you could produce a third picture by sort of fading one into another. Sometimes you get a third image, which is quite fascinating, really. But landscape set to music, it gives you that extra sort of dimension, really, and they were greatly enjoyed by people. Really, really good. We tended to use classical music, sort of Elgar and stuff like that, typical sort of landscapey sort of music. But yeah, it went down well. Second half of the show was always monochrome, so we had monochrome images, sort of prints and so on. That was basically what we did.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that was good fun.
Interesting to make the connection between the emotional connection between the music and the images.
Yes, very much so.
We talk about capturing the emotion, and we know that music is the same thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you choose the right music, you can do a lot. As the film people do. I mean, you see a film, the film music makes a big difference to how you perceive the things, isn't it? Really. Yeah.
So you've shared 3 images with us, as we've been asking our guests to do recently. And you're going to go ahead and tell us a bit about the background of each one, how you captured it, etc. Our first photo here, we have Wells Cathedral. I already know a little bit about the background of this one, but why don't you go ahead and tell the guys and the people watching exactly what's going on in this photo of Wells Cathedral?
Yeah. Well, with Wells Cathedral, I was doing some work for Devon Life. I did 5-6 years commissioned by Devon Life to go and do areas. And they said to me, they also own the magazine Dorset Life. So they said, well, go and get some pictures of Dorset. So I jumped in my car, went to Dorset, thought I'd try Wells Cathedral. The light looked good. And I'd borrowed a digital Kodak camera, which was the first full-frame digital camera around. Enormously expensive. And the lab, my photo lab, lent it to me. So I was terrified of dropping it, but I got good light, and I was pleased with the stuff I did. And of course, I didn't use it, as often is the case. I've got 2 or 3 on your side of the same image. The closer image of. But the light on Wells Cathedral was fantastic at the time, and it was sort of golden. And I thought, my God, this is good. This is so easy after lumping film around and sort of, the trouble with film is you never know what you're really going to get. You had to bracket it a lot, and then you never knew whether the processor was going to make a mess of it. And it was hard work, really. and to have a digital means of getting the picture was so much easier, and as is now, of course. It's
yeah, of course.
So when was this picture? So when was this picture taken?
when
Yeah,
I
when?
think it would have been about 2003 or 2004, I think. So
Okay.
yeah, it's I don't think the camera even recorded when it was, to be honest, because it was on loan, so it wasn't set up properly, you know. But I think it was way back. It was the first full frame that was available, I think, at the time. Although I'd had a Fuji F Pro 1 at that time, which was obviously APS size sensor, but this was a full frame sensor camera. It's good. Yeah.
What was your experience?
That was.
Sorry, what was your experience taking that jump from film to a full frame digital? You mentioned a little bit. It was you had more of an opportunity to get the shot easier. How did that develop your workflow over time? Because this is always a topic on the podcast with our film photographers and our digital photographers. And because you've made the step from both here in this shot, I'm wondering how that affected your process.
Well, at first I was worried about quality, so I used to take a Pentax 6.7 with me on location as well, and often used to shoot side by side. And then the art editor at Devon Life, I said, well, you know, compare the two shots and see if you could see any difference. And frankly, even at that early stage, by the time they scanned the shot and so on, there was so little difference as far as magazine reproduction was concerned that we went with digital. But I'm sure that it would probably have shown if it had been something blown up bigger. But however, I mean, on massive poster size, there's a shot on your site which is taken of bedrooms and steps on 35mm film, which the Western Morning News on a hoarding, you know, a massive hoarding. I'm quite surprised. I drove around the corner one day in Paignton and saw this thing on this hoarding. I didn't know they were using it, but quite surprised. But that was shot from 35mm, carefully on tripod and everything else, but on Velvia. But you know, it's quite amazing how you can get good quality for even 35mm if you're very careful. But digital quality now is fantastic. Really, I mean, if you scan a 35mm film now, you can't pull up the detail of the seagull in the far distance like you can on digital, you know. And so I pretty quickly decided to go down the digital route. And then, of course, I had to learn Photoshop and all the other things. And then, of course, as far as commercial side was concerned, you did all the work then. Because in the old days, you shot a load of transparencies, put them on the editor's desk, and he'd do the rest. He'd scan them, get rid of the spots and and so on. Change the colour maybe. Of course, once you're onto digital, you're spending most of the time when you get back home on the computer preparing them ready for sort of printing. You're virtually ready to go straight into the magazine. So,
so many sort of businesses have gone by the wayside there, because I remember, you know, when I started my career as a graphic designer, I would buy images on transparency and then take them to a scanning house, and there would be a guy there who did all the retouching.
Yeah.
You know, who spent his day literally in a black tent, you know, retouching images.
Absolutely.
Must have been hellish sort of job to do, but that's all done by the photographer, you know, straight after taking the picture almost. So
absolutely, yeah. I know the some of the better scanning was done by I'm trying to think of the name of it now, but a drum scanner. They did it with a drum scanner. That was the scanning you could get. It was very expensive, but as you might remember. But you guys did all the work in those days, but these days you sit back and
that's it. Oh, yeah. I mean, Photoshop does make it a bit easier. There are some great tools in there, but I mean,
Photoshop's very easy now, but they keep changing the interface now. I've lost my way with a lot of the stuff now. I'm just getting a nice working pattern, and they changed the whole thing. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, no, I have. Yeah, Yeah, some things labelled as improvements aren't always improvements, but
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So we got your second image here. The triangular field pattern.
Well, yeah.
I just want to say I absolutely love this image because the way that you've captured that horizon in the frame, it looks like it's towering.
It's so trippy.
Trippy, yeah, trippy's a good word.
Well, that's strange enough. That should have ideally been the first image. That's when I was using purely film, and I went through a period of using a 500 mirror lens to capture landscape, and get rid of all the the fripperies around it. So that's what brought me to the attention of Landscape Only Agency, because that was one of the pictures that went round on the postcards. So that turned it not to be terribly commercial. People didn't actually buy that to hang on their wall, and they may have done in the middle of London in sort of Chelsea or somewhere, but it wasn't a generally popular image, But I enjoyed doing it. I did a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an image that challenges you to sort of look again, because you're like, well, has that been retouched? Is that actually what happened?
No, absolutely, as it was. Yeah,
yeah.
On film, it was not far from where I live, but a very steep hillside, and probably isn't cultivated anymore. It's probably just gone to waste. But yeah, it was an interesting shot. Though I was pleased.
Yeah, no,
I had another shot, which was what they call a ploughed wall. It was a ploughed field with a telegraph pole in it, and because it was shot with a long lens, the perspective was very strange. It looked like the telegraph pole was against a wall. It's another one. Which, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to work out the actual distance of this shot. Where is it positioned in line with this opposite hill, and what millimeter lens are you using to get?
It's a 500 cat lens, which is the mirror lens at a fixed aperture of f8. So you had very little leeway. You had to shoot it on a very heavy tripod because very often there wasn't enough light to enable you to use a fast shutter speed. So sometimes I had a monopod and a tripod connected to it. The monopod connected to the front of the lens, and the tripod behind to steady it up so much, But it was difficult. And then the atmosphere wasn't always good for it, so it's quite a difficult thing to do. Really, you had to have a very clear atmosphere to get a good shot. But I've still got that lens. I still use it on my digital. There's no focusing on it, of course. No, it's manual focus.
You had to be pretty in shape to carry around all that gear.
Sorry?
You said you'd have to be pretty in shape to carry around all that equipment into the fields and get the tripods, monopods all set up.
To be honest, if I was going on having to go and walk, I'd take a lightweight I've got 3 tripods, one of which is a very lightweight one. But the worst was going around with the Pentax 6.7, of course, because that was like carrying a machine gun around, and it had to have a heavy tripod as well. So that was hard work. Yeah. Are you familiar with the Pentax 6.7?
Yeah, I've got it.
No, unfortunately not.
Well, it looks like an SLR scaled up about 5 times. It weighs a ton. The lenses weigh a ton, and the shutter goes off like a machine gun. And you get a lot of shutter shake too. So it had to be on a very heavy tripod.
It's massive.
They are. I don't have that, but I still have my panoramic camera, which is a thing called an Art Panorama, which is I did quite a lot of panoramic photography, and that again is quite a beast. And totally manual exposure and everything. You've got to get the exposure with a light meter, and allow for there's a filter on the front of that, which is more dense in the middle than at the edges. So you have to allow for that when you do your calculations on exposure. So a bit of a beast that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Again, it's so easy now. You can just take 2 pictures and stitch them together for a panorama these days.
Yeah, of course. As you mentioned when we spoke before, even your iPad does it automatically now for you. So
yeah, quite. Yeah,
it's going a long way. But so So for your final image 3, we've got sunrise at Thatcher Rock in Torquay. I'm aware that this was used as a full front page spread on the first day of the new century, which is
Yes, that's right.
amazing. Why don't you tell us a bit more about this shot and that publication?
Sure. Well, first of all, it wasn't shot, of course, on the first day. I had to get in position at Thatcher Rock. I think I went there 3 or 4 times to get the picture. I was commissioned by Western Morning News to do it for the 1st 2000. They wanted sun coming up over a rock. And basically, I did that. That was shot on the Pentax 6.7. It was used in portrait format, whereas the picture I've got on with you is I think they cropped it to portrait. And I can't remember whether the little tree on the left, which was very attractive, was in it. I think a bit of it was. But that went on. That was nice. The whole of the front of the paper was that. And there was a nice little sort of bit of writing down at the bottom of it to say what the new century was going to bring, And they didn't sort of foresee COVID for a start. But, it was nice to do and to see it on the bookstalls against all the other nationals and things which were carrying a similar sort of picture. Really, I think all the national newspapers did a similar shot. Really, sun coming up over the sea or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, it's an amazing achievement.
Another interesting experience with Western Morning News was when we had the eclipse of the sun. Just before digital came about, really, I was one of the photographers stationed at a spot. This happened to be Dartmouth, but they had about 7 or 8 photographers stationed all over the place. We took pictures of the effect, and then we had to get the film back to the lab to be processed and sent over by line by them to Western Morning News in time for the next day's paper. So that was quite challenging too. But, the old days of film, the old steam days.
Of course. So obviously this photo wasn't taken on the first day of the century. When was this taken, and at what time of day was?
Oh, not only a very early morning. A very very close on to probably in. I would guess I took it about 20th of December or something like that, or maybe after Christmas. To be honest, I can't remember, but it was certainly quite close. It had to be quite close to the time. And
was you down in that area for a reason, or was you going there for?
I live in Brixham.
Oh, okay.
I live in Brixham, so it's just around the bay. Basically, it's a bike ride away, Torquay from me. So,
lovely.
It's the other side of Torbay, where Torquay, Thatcher Rock. Mm. It's just beyond Torquay, actually, on the headland there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I chose an easy place to get to. Yeah.
And on getting out, once all the sort of restrictions are lifted, are you now that Boris has given us some dates, are you planning to get out and about and take some new pictures?
I hope so. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's I'm having to concentrate on Brixham at the moment, and I'm running out of ideas, to be honest. I'm very lucky to live here, really, because basically I could be down at the harbour within 10 minutes from where I am. And, really
it's quite photogenic, isn't it? So.
Yeah, but, of course, everybody comes and takes the pictures. So guys from Liverpool and so on. Yeah. It's got the. But I have to say, the Cornish beaches are pretty popular at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, they will be.
I don't know how many pictures of Cornish beaches you've got, but it's one hell of a lot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any particular place that you want to aim for? Sort of post lockdown that you sort of think you've been edging, or you've been sort of thinking about shooting, and you've got in your mind that you plan to shoot?
I've got a few ideas. Yeah, I mean, I love Saunton Sands in North Devon for a start. Mm. You get a lot of reflections from the clouds on the beach when the tide goes out. Mm. One of my favourite places. I'm not so sure about Cornish beaches. I think you might have got a bit of oversaturation, but there's a lot of Devon and Cornwall that is photogenic. So I'll probably stay pretty well in this area for a while. I don't think I'll be venturing abroad for a year or so, to be honest. But,
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, it's been lovely talking to you, and thank you so much for sharing these images with us. Before you go, do you have any advice for the guys who are, using the platform to sell their art, who might be perhaps struggling slightly or looking to achieve slightly more sales? Is there anything that you can give to them to take away before we wrap up?
I think from a point of view of selling pictures to hang on the wall, which you guys do, I think you've got to imagine whether you'd have the picture on the wall yourself, and if it's a picture of the back of a crane or something, that would only appeal to a very limited market. So I think you've got to think in terms of what people would like to see hanging on their wall. And that's the main thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I don't always do that, to be honest. I get intrigued by things and take, but that is, you can see from the ones you sell, the main pictures that do sell are the ones that capture the emotion, of course, and are ones you'd like to see hanging on the wall, basically. And
Definitely.
I can't say any more than that.
I wouldn't. No, it is great advice, and of course, it is always put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you might absolutely love a photograph, but we need to think about, would a customer buy it? Would they spend a fair amount of money to put it on their wall, and then build off of that thought process? Because art is meaningful, and it's going to change depending on people's taste. And even as a photographer, our taste would be different to a customer's. So always put ourselves in the customer's shoes. But on that note, Paul, it was really lovely talking to you, and thanks so much for taking the time to join us and share those images with us. And we hope to see your portfolio grow when lockdown lifts, of course, and see plenty more images of Cornwall of Devon.
You may not be seeing so much of Brixham.
No.
Okay, nice to talk.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Paul. It's nice to put a face to a name, Paul. Thanks.
Pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Right, brilliant. Cheers, Paul. Thanks very much for that. That was really good. So that brings us to a close this week. So just a recap, we covered our Mother's Day campaign, and we talked more about some of the tools and how you use them to market your art online. So remember, if you want to get involved in the podcast, reach out to us on Facebook, and don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on social media at Photo4me.com. We'll see you again next week for episode 19. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Bye.